right, we're now up to at least 17 women who have publicly accused Bill Cosby of sexual misconduct. A handful of people are defending him, including soul singer Jill Scott, who got into some spirited debate on Twitter yesterday. She responded to one critic, "I'm respecting a man who has done more for the image of brown people than almost anyone ever, from Fat Albert to the Huxtables." And she asked several Twitter detractors, if this was your father, would you be so quick to decide? So Scott may be doubling down on her support for Cosby, but more women continue to come forward with similar stories about Cosby drugging and sexually assaulting them. Now, Cosby's becoming more and more isolated. He's resigned from the Temple University Board of Trustees, and that's one of the top Google News searches today. He attended Temple in the early 60s. And that's not all. Last week, the University of Massachusetts at Amherst also cut ties with Cosby. That's where he got his master's and doctorate degrees. CNN newsroom anchor Frederica Whitfield and HLN legal analyst Joey Jackson is joining me. Joy, I want to start with you first. He resigned from Temple University Board of Directors, UMass Amherst.
Sure.
And then also he settled out of court with someone from Temple University who accused him of this alleged sexual misconduct. Is he in some way, shape, or form admitting guilt here by doing those things?
Not in a legal sense, Yasmin. I think those are things you certainly have to do. And, I know, Frederica, you did a wonderful interview. We'll get into that, of one of the accusers. But at the end of the day, you have institutions that he went to that, look, there's a lot of people out there who are making accusations against him. None of them have been proven. They haven't, been in a court of law. We know that there was a civil suit, Yasmin, that was settled. But that doesn't amount to guilt. But it has the appearance of impropriety. It has the appearance of something that's really bad. And as a result of that, if you're an institution, Temple or Amherst, you don't want to be associated with that. So I think he certainly did the right things at breaking ties with them and them with him.
Yeah, but why settle out of court if you're not guilty?
Because generally speaking, there's a number of reasons to settle other than guilt. A lot of times it's protracted litigation, meaning it can go on for a long period of time. You're in the public eye. You want to end it. There are issues as far as legal costs and expenses, and you just want to keep it out of the news, and he has an image. So there's a lot of reasons, Yasmin, that people settle cases that don't go to the underlying merits of the case or to the guilt, or innocence of a case.
All right, Frederica, so many of these alleged incidents happened so long ago, right? But you spoke to supermodel Janice Dickinson recently about her 1982 alleged incident. What more did she have to say?
That's right. We talked yesterday at her home in Beverly Hills. This comes 30 years, plus after this alleged incident. And she says, you know what? She compartmentalized it for years. She stuffed it away.
Right.
She did tell some close associates at the time, but she also felt very afraid. She was afraid that it would jeopardize her entire career. Even though she was a supermodel, she had aspirations of perhaps segueing into television or film, and she felt like if she did that, nobody would want to touch her.
Right.
And so why is she talking about it now? She says she was actually empowered and inspired by the other women who have come out in recent weeks, and her story is very similar in terms of the alleged drugging and the alleged sexual misconduct, the rape. In her view, she calls it rape. She was raped by Bill Cosby, and of course Bill Cosby's attorney Martin Singer has disputed that. In fact, he's called her a liar.
Yeah.
But she says, you know what? She feels more compelled to tell her story now than ever.
Let's listen to a little bit of it, and then we'll talk after.
It was red wine. It was a pill. And then when I started to black out, I had a Polaroid camera on me. That's when I took several photographs with a Polaroid. When I had one of the first Polaroid cameras, and I just remembered shooting these pictures and having them on me in my room the next morning when I woke up. The last thing I remember, I had blacked out, and Cosby mounting me like the monster that he was, and I was thinking, what the heck, and I just remembered passing out.
In regards to what Frederica was saying, Cosby's attorney is lashing out at Dickinson, saying she's lying about being insulted. He points out that in both Dickinson's autobiography and a 2002 interview, she says Cosby propositioned her, but she turned him down. And the ghostwriter for her autobiography says they left the rape out of the book because they did not think the publisher's attorney would let them include it. Frederica,
That's right.
What more do you know about this?
Yeah, I spoke with Pablo Fenves. He is the ghostwriter, and she told him the story. She told me that she told him the story, and then when I spoke with Pablo, he said, yes, indeed, she told me the story. She was distraught about it. This was back in 2001 when they were putting the book together. But he said to her, you know what, while this is very compelling, it's horrible, and, I empathize with you, this isn't going to make the book.
Right.
I know what it is to work with big publishers like HarperCollins, and they're not going to want to include this because we're not going to be able to get the corroboration from the lawyers of Bill Cosby. And so for that, I'm not even going to include it in a draft. So he tells me that he never typed it up. While he acknowledges he heard the story from her in 2001, he didn't include it in the draft that he then sent to HarperCollins.
Yeah.
So HarperCollins never saw the written draft, the version of her events, the story of the alleged sexual assault by Bill Cosby.
If this is true, then this is a question of Cosby being a huge player in Hollywood. And ultimately, how do you go up against a huge player in Hollywood?
Sure, and that's one of the claims here. If you listen to the women who talk about it, and they're seemingly corroborating and telling a likely similar story. But so if you listen to them, it's because he's a big person. He's a person that's tough to go against. And of course, if you listen to his lawyers, it's no, it's not that he's a big person and influential in Hollywood. It's that they're lying and that they're deceitful and that they're piling on. And so at the end of the day, who knows what's true, what's not true. It certainly is troubling, and these allegations certainly, if true, it's pretty deplorable.
It's interesting too. I wonder, Yasmin, Joey, your point of view as to whether she would have any legal recourse as it pertains to slander or libel, because the attorney for Bill Cosby calls her a liar, and she is able to at least say that she conveyed the story, XYZ. Does she have any legal recourse in terms of that area?
That's a wonderful point, Frederica. And there's an issue that she would have legal recourse, because remember, when you talk about defamation, you're talking about injuring somebody's reputation, and you're talking about a fact that would not be true, right? So in this instance, in the event that he's lying, Bill Cosby, she would have recourse. Because
Absolutely.
it's her reputation, it's her image.
All right, I want to be clear that, Bill Cosby actually doesn't face any charges right now. And I want to read a statement from his attorney as well, in which he says, "It defies common sense that so many people would have said nothing, done nothing, and made no reports to law enforcement or asserted civil claims if they thought they had been assaulted over a span of so many years."